I thought hard-fought battle down in Louisiana. Those guys were obviously a good football team. Individually, they have a lot of talent on that team. That defensive line, linebackers, defensive backs, there's a lot of very, very good football players on there. Obviously, we all know about the offensive line and running back, but I thought the quarterback was a guy that stood out to me as the day went on. The first interception he had, it looked one way, and then he just started to really gain some confidence and click and really put the ball in places that were tough for us to defend. And then we just got to make some plays on third and longs. We got to be able to get off the field, and then we have to be able to sustain drives, and we had opportunities to do that. We just didn't connect for whatever reason, and that's what we got to focus on throughout this week.
Curious, after watching the film, how do you think the offensive play calling went? Do you think they abandoned the run a little bit too early, maybe some quicker passes to counter the blitz? What do you think?
No, I thought we were in a decent spot. I just thought that we didn't connect for whatever reason. We just did not connect. There was moments where we catch certain footballs, and we just could not really get that going, for whatever reason. And there was opportunities to do that, and we just didn't end up in that position. I thought we did a good job at the beginning going up 10. I thought we had a chance to make that a little larger deficit, right before half. That fumble, scoop and score, that's a tough one because you think you're going in and at least coming up with 3, maybe 7 maximum. That was just a tough one. But overall, I liked where we were at. I like how we battled. We just did not get any momentum going. We couldn't, just had no rhythm and momentum on our side at all. It just never really amounted to anything throughout the day, which, was different than the past couple weeks.
Talked about the receivers not really winning as many matchups as you had hoped. Even with the 133 points in the past 2 weeks, do you still feel like there's a guy that needs to step up in that receiver room to be someone you can trust to get a contested catch?
Yeah, I think they all have to do that. I think what we talked about week in and week out for the past couple is just being able to distribute the ball, and these guys coming up big and making plays. You watched it through every single one of them over the past couple of weeks. That's what we've been talking about. Is there's no just one guy. There's a lot of guys in there that can make plays. We just didn't do it. We weren't able to connect, on Saturday. So just got to keep moving forward.
When it comes to finding that rhythm and connecting, was it what you guys weren't doing or more so what they were doing and doing against you?
I think a little bit. I mean, you could put it on both. I think that there was some really good pressure in there. And even when there wasn't pressure, we had a little bit of issues with just keeping that pocket clean. But ultimately, I thought that, I thought we did a decent job. We just, they were pretty physical. They were physical up front. There was a lot of contact downfield, and I think we just got to be able to work through that and just do a little better job of that. But I think a little bit of both. We had chances, and we dropped some. We missed a couple throws, and then ultimately, I thought they did a good job, in some of their physical play downfield.
And when it comes to those pre-snap penalties, what are you guys doing on the field in practice now to kind of address that and get that number down?
Yeah, I mean, that's just something we're talking about every single day and working every single day. We got to, unless we can get some louder music out here or something along those lines, I'm not sure. But ultimately, we just can't do that. We can't be in 2 4th and 2s and jump off sides. We can't do it. We can't be backed up and be in a 3rd and 3 and jump off sides or twitch a little bit. We just can't do that. And, we just got to keep working through it.
This is sort of an out there question, but I'm kind of curious. When you're coming off of a loss like this and you have a game on Thursday, is that better in some ways because, your guys aren't dwelling on the loss as much, or is it worse because you have less time to prepare and get in the right mindset?
No, I don't. I think there's probably a mix of both, and it depends on who you are. I don't think anybody's one person, but I do think that when you get out on the field, you just got to get to work, right? So you're right back at it again. So it might be a blessing in disguise. We just got to make sure mentally as they navigate this, they're moved on from that last game and are putting themselves in the best position possible. But, with it, again, the answer, if it went well on Saturday night, would be get back to work. If it went poorly on Saturday night, would be get back to work. And here we are Sunday and again this morning getting back to work.
How have you seen them respond in the first 2 days of practice after that game?
Really good. I think normal. Everything looks very much the same, if not a little bit more motivation out there at this moment. I can't say that because I thought they've done that last week of practice was phenomenal. So I think we're right back to where we were.
Yeah, Ethan Vasco, that's a tough quarterback to stop this Thursday. What are you going to do to stop him? That's a guy that's a true dual threat out there.
Yeah, he's a dual threat for sure. I mean, his numbers passing the ball are, excellent. They keep him clean. I think he's been sacked 2 times on the entire year. He can put the ball in places downfield and accurately, and then they also have him running a whole bunch and just straight, +1 quarterback run game. But now they're, even opening up a little bit more into the option stuff. So there's a lot in there that we got to account for him at all moments. All right, and then we also got to figure out where do we match up downfield because there's some pretty serious threats at receiver, not to mention some really good running back. So this is a huge test for us. It'll be a huge challenge on Thursday night.
Why do you think it was so difficult for the offensive line to stop making so many pre-snap mistakes? You know what I mean?
I mean, it was loud there. There was loud. I mean, it was one of those situations that they're hearing it differently. There's a lot of pressure, coming from that defense. There's a lot of pre-snap movement from that defense. They were, they had different, calls that they would make at times that, put our guys just a little bit for whatever reason, just ended up in that situation. Nothing that anybody intentionally does, and it's not one person that's doing it. It kind of worked its way across the board from, different groups in there, even the running back and a tight end at one point. So it's just something we just got to continue to work on. I think they're eager and excited to execute their play, and then at some point in time, when you're at the point of attack and this is a tough D line that you're going against, and it's going to take a little more. You can understand how you could jump the gun a little bit. You got to be patient and relax and just get through it. But we're working on that all week.
I know this doesn't really apply to last weekend as much because his one turnover was on a design run. But when you have a quarterback like Alonzo who can create so much outside of the pocket, where do you sort of draw the line with him when you kind of want him to be Superman and don't?
Yeah, well, I think that you just got to pick your poison. I don't think we want him carrying the ball as much as he did, on Saturday. That's for sure. Now, some of them were sacks, some of them were busted run pass plays, and one of them was a huge positive for us. But ultimately, he got a first down in there on a fourth down. He just did some really good things. I just don't think we want to run him as much as we just did.
And you mentioned the noise and everything, and obviously it wasn't there Saturday, but it didn't look like there were a ton of people. And I think you said after the game there was music, things like that. Was the music a pre-snap thing during this game, like as you guys were coming to the line or calling signals? But I think everybody's doing that. They had a band. They had their student section right behind it. They did a great job. That's what they should do, right? And I just think there were moments where it was playing, almost to the point where we were under trying to communicate and it was still going. But if you can do that, you should do that. We should do that here as well, right? Everybody should do that if they can. And as you prepare, I mean, obviously not this week, but you have games at Georgia Southern and App State coming up where they're known for having more crowds than you see in Monroe. Like how much do you have to work on that aspect of things?
A ton. We got to put speakers right behind the offense. We got to make sure that we're doing all of that. Even we did it all preseason with the band actually being out here, behind the defense, because when we're at home, it ends up being the defense where you got to be able to communicate without that, without the ability to verbally hear each other. So I think that's all part of what we have to be able to just keep working on. So right now, this week, we focus on the defense being able to do that, but ultimately, as we move into those next games, it's got to also still be the offense.
When some of those mistakes are being made when pre-snap and stuff, how are you seeing the leaders, because again, it is an older offensive line, how are you seeing them respond and talk to each other and talk to the other guys on the team?
Great. See, get back on track, and we're not dwelling on it. We got to move on as quickly as possible. So, yeah, they do a great job.
And then looking ahead to this week, I know Tommy just asked about Ethan Vasco, but what are you seeing out of Coastal now? I mean, they're matching your guys' record, and they're coming off a pretty good weekend themselves.
Yeah, you're seeing a lot. I mean, it's a high-powered offense, and it is an aggressive, exotic defense at times. So you're seeing all of it. They have a great punter. They have a great kicker. They have good special teams. There's really nothing in here that you're going to, identify as a weakness. There's really nothing. Quarterback's been sacked twice. They lead the nation in, defensive touchdowns. Like their punters putting the ball wherever he wants to. There's a whole lot of stuff in here that's really, really good, with a ton of threats on the outside and a run game to go with it, and a quarterback that is, as good as anybody. So it's a huge challenge, and one that we got to be really locked in on a short week.
Why wasn't Chauncey Logan able to go on Saturday, and what's your assessment for him on Thursday?
I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about that stuff. I don't know what the I got to talk to those guys downstairs, because there's other guys in here, but I don't know what I'm supposed to be talking about in here or not, and I don't want to really mention, anything for those guys one way or another until they're ready to mention stuff. So I think we're in I'd have to just brush up on what I'm supposed to be saying in that moment. I have no clue. Nobody told me anything. Is that my job to alert everybody on all the injured, to go through the injury list? Yeah, thanks.
What are the challenges that come with playing on a short week?
Exactly that. This is the amount of reps you can get, the amount of time that you get. Think about it. We just came off that plane on Saturday night, really Sunday morning when we got home, and you're already back into it on Sunday evening. And now here we are on Monday morning, right back at it again. And you're trying to stuff a lot of scheme into a very short period of time. And, that's just one of the things that's a challenge. So you got to just figure out, what is it that you want to focus the most on? You want to dabble in a little bit of everything so that you're prepared. And then what calls do you have that, you can carry that can work against almost anything. That's ultimately the questions when it's all said and done. And those are, that's a huge challenge. When you think about the special teams that they have, you think about the offense that they have, you think about the personnel groupings they have on that, and then you go into the defense and just some of the things they're doing especially on passing downs. There's some really, exciting stuff that you got to really prepare for. So none of it is, easy regularly. And then you put it on a short week, it becomes even more of a challenge. You put it on a short week where you got back at, 3 or 4 in the morning on Sunday, it puts it even on more of a challenge. So just is what it is. And I think we're excited for it.
Do you think your guys are just kind of having the right mindset after that loss,
Our guys are?
Yeah.
I think they're in a great spot. They're right back to work. I mean, that's the good part about it, is that they got to get right back to work. Obviously, nobody wants to lose a game, especially a close game like that. When you're inches away from the 2-point conversion and putting yourself in a good situation, you really want to win. Obviously, you want to win every single game. But no matter what, we got to get back to work, period. Win or lose. The previous weeks before, you can't let that win hang around very long. Same thing with the loss. You can't let that hang around very long.
To be successful at this level, obviously you have players who after a loss want to get back to work and they want to get on the field and fix those issues. And when it is a short week, how do you make sure you're doing that but balancing it with maybe taking some rest and making sure they're not burning themselves out before that Thursday game?
Yeah, well, that's our job, right? Is to go through, and we've met with a lot of different teams way back in the preseason. We build out our practice plans that way. The way we're practicing this week is different than the way we practice every other week. There's a whole lot of not only just, the mental piece of it, but there's a lot of sports science that has to go behind it that we have to protect them from. So I think we have a good plan in place, and we're doing a nice job, getting it started.
Yeah. Do you think the fact that, that loss may have tempered some of the chances? Like, there's been a lot of talk about college football playoff, and you have to have a good resume again. Do you think the fact that, maybe some of the expectations are loosened a little bit may help the team a little bit down the stretch of Sun Belt play?
I think my expectation is that we have the best Monday we can have, then the best Tuesday that we can have, because that's ultimately all that we could control, period. So I'm not really thinking about anything other than what we can do each and every single day. That's it. I think everybody else could have conversations about what they want to have conversations about, right? But ultimately, we have to be able to do the best possible job we can do today. So that practice, I thought, was excellent. If they come back later and watch a little film, that's got to be excellent. Then when they come back into tomorrow, it's got to be excellent. We just have to be doing that every single day. I don't think anybody's looking and circling December and just getting by until December to find out what happens next. That's not what we're doing. We have to go to work every single day.